Good evening. Welcome to Expat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Here at Expat Insights, we take external views of internal successes by foreigners and expats who have made Philippines their home. Tonight, being Father's Day, we have taken a creative twist to the show. We haven't invited fathers, but we have invited mothers to talk about fathers and fatherhood. So my guests tonight, expat wives, partly expat and partly not expat. Debbie Clements, President of MADS Manila, which is Mothers and Darlings Manila, and Teresa Bilbao, Vice President of MADS Manila. So welcome to Expat Insights on Father's Day.
Hello.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for having us.
So start by telling us a bit about you being mothers to darlings.
Oh, where to start?
Sometimes they're darlings.
Sometimes they're not.
It's a difficult question because it's like asking you, how do you enjoy being a man? I mean, you don't know life any other way. So, I mean,
Some people do.
A mom is who I am. It's what I do. It's how I exist. So it's my life. It's days are great and days are hard, and
So there are no options out of motherhood.
For me, no.
Yeah,
For me, no.
For me, no.
There are options specifically here where you can, have yayas and helpers and everything.
Oh, you can get support.
Living here makes it, I guess, easier. There's an alternative to being with your children 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
I would say it makes it harder, though. Harder because if you don't have your family the way you would back home, then it makes it harder when you go home for trips and things. So for me, I try and run my family the way I would in Canada, which makes it harder to do in the Philippines than it would in Canada.
Right, so there's a little bit of influence of external forces, the culture and the fact that there are other people playing active part in the family, no?
Yeah.
So wait, I forgot to mention Debbie Clements is English Canadian and Teresa Bilbao is Spanish, Australian, Filipino. Am I right? Is that correct? So yeah, that's why she mentioned Canada. Okay, so a bit about yourself now. That was about being mothers to darlings and sometimes not to darlings. So a bit about yourself besides the fact that you are Spanish, Canadian, Australians.
I have two boys, and one just turned 6 and one's going to be turning 4. And I find it very challenging because I grew up with just sisters. So to go from a predominantly female household to one where I am the outcast.
3 men.
Yeah. It makes it very different. And I'm really, boys are now at the age where I'm really starting to notice a difference between.
How old are they?
One just turned 6 and one's going to be turning 4. So I'm now noticing the difference between what I did as a girl and what they want to do.
Thus you're the right candidate for tonight's show. Talking
Yes.
about fathers and fatherhood because you're surrounded by men, big and small.
I'm surrounded by men, yes.
Big and small. Teresa.
Well, I have 2 children also. My eldest is a boy and my youngest is a girl. I think just generally speaking, becoming a mom was one of those, I mean, everything else in life comes with an instruction booklet and, things you can download and research, but they put this child in your hands and you have no idea. What am I doing? How does it work? Make it stop. So,
So no matter how much stuff you download on Google about being a mom,
or how many books
books you read, and how many people you ask, it's really
I swear that is so correct.
Yeah.
That is so correct. I think that holds true for fathers and fatherhood too.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I was in your place answering questions about fathers and fatherhood, but hey, that's not happening, no?
Yeah.
Well, we can interview you if you'd like.
You can do that? Yeah, okay. Okay, afterwards in the last 15 minutes. No? Now, one question, and while I ask you this question, while you answer this, we'll set up a little song so that my audience gets into the mood of the topic, which is fathers and fatherhood. So set up the song by Luther Van Dross.
Luther Van Dross.
Dross. Okay, D-R-O-S-S. So the question I need to ask you is, what is more fun for you in the Philippines?
What is more fun for me in the Philippines?
It's a Department of Tourism slogan, yeah.
Yes. I would say the weather.
The weather is fun for you.
The weather is more fun. I come from Canada where there's a lot of snow, and we really only have 2 or 3 days that you can, or sorry, 2 or 3 months that you can go swimming.
Okay.
So the fact that we can go swimming and go to the beach, and I would say the weather. It's a
You
big one
like
for me.
it, right?
I like
You can
it.
actually go swimming here in a typhoon too. It's a lot more
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go to the beach.
Yeah. I like the beaches. I like the weather. And yeah, that's for me.
Okay, and Teresa, quickly before the song comes on.
Quickly before the song comes on, I would say it's having a much wider network of friends and people that you can interact with, because anywhere else in the world it's really all about what you have to do at work, what you have to finish at home, and everybody is just generally busier. Everybody's just busier, but yet I noticed that here you can take time out, and you do have the luxury of having somebody who can watch your children when you're not available, or when you choose not to be available and you want to hang out with friends.
Daddy.
Or, you know, it's like, hey, do you need a baby break? Okay, I'm in, you know, and so I think that's what I look forward to. Unfortunately, no, I enjoy the cooler weather a lot, and that's what I miss. I miss winter time.
In Australia?
Anywhere. I
Anywhere
mean, because
though.
California winter's generally much
Cool,
milder,
yeah.
but I do like the cold, and my kids like the cold as well.
Yeah,
so.
me too. I like the winter here. I like December here. It's fine. It's not
December's
not
fine.
winter.
It's
That's
not
like
winter.
summer in Canada.
I know,
cool.
it's cool. It's cool.
It's
yeah.
summer.
You know, it's barbecue weather, but yeah.
Okay, so for you it was the weather, and for you it is the extended network, the
Yes.
social groups, the family, etc. That's more
Yes.
fun for you. Okay, let's hear that song, and then we'll come back. There you go. That song was dedicated to fathers and daughters. I wish we had one for fathers and sons too. The one by Cat Stevens. That was a good song. Huh?
Oh, yeah. I know that.
How many miles? Something like that. I don't know. Can't remember it. Okay, so let's talk about fatherhood. Let's talk about fatherhood and talk about your fathers first. Whatever you want to bring to the table about fathers, your fathers, if you want to talk about.
My father?
Yeah,
Well, my
so-
father was born in Madrid, and my mother, they met when my mother went there for school, and they decided to, you know, have the love of their lives, and they got married and had a family, and we all migrated to Sydney as a family, and yeah, and then the rest is history. He's happily retired now. He has various website businesses that he runs to keep him occupied.
He's here? Or
No, he lives. He's in transition now. He's on his way moving back to Melbourne. So he's
what's his last name?
Conde.
Conde, which is
Yes.
Spanish Filipino.
It's Spanish.
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 So
yes.
a story about your dad, something that you'd like to share, something that you remember, and the most outstanding story about you and your dad.
Oh gosh, I don't know that it's outstanding, but you know, Debbie and I were sharing earlier, and she was saying that, you know, she remembers dancing and things with her father, and I mean, I didn't have that kind of a relationship with my father. I think primarily because I was one of two girls, and so my father felt the need to have a little bit of rough and tumble. So my
Right.
father and I would build things together.
Right.
We would tear down the garage and build a new one, and, you know, rebuild the house or retile the pool and things like that. So that was the kind of relationship that I had with my father. There was no dancing.
So you did it.
Yeah. But it was, you know, it was a good relationship nonetheless. And I have nothing but absolute respect and admiration for my father. And he set a very high bar for the man that I chose to be my husband. And
Whoa.
it's unfortunate, but I do compare often.
Your man,
Yes.
your man in your life, your father.
And I always tell him, you know, my father did this, and
Oh,
you know,
gosh.
at 11:30 every day he called my mother. Why don't you call me? And
Oh God.
yeah, but yeah.
That must be tough on the guy, on your hubby.
He's used to it. He knows better. He knows better now, and he calls me at 12:15, so it's okay.
12:15 midnight?
No, at lunchtime.
Oh, okay, to catch up on lunch. I thought midnight.
No.
Debbie.
Okay. Well, one thing my dad, I used to always dance on his feet, and I would feel like a
Just
princess.
like the song.
Just like the song, yes.
Okay.
But my dad, I remember doing dog fights with him. So it's where you get on all
Not
fours.
pillow fights, but...
No. I guess it was the same way. You know, my dad had just girls, so he wanted to get us more rough and tumble.
How many girls were you?
3.
And you're still around the world? Some of them are with him, or any
Well,
of your sisters?
one's in San Diego and one's still in Canada.
Okay.
So, and then we did dog fights. So you get on all fours and then you try and wrestle the other one off. So I did that with my dad. And then he always used to sing the song "Daddy's Little Girl" to me.
I don't know that song. Can you hum a few?
I'm horrible with singing.
Okay, well,
I'm really horrible, to the point where my husband once told me to please don't sing so much to the kids because they used to have a nice voice and now they're tone deaf.
Okay.
But it's, you know, it starts with "You're the End of the Rainbow," "You're My Pot of Gold," "You're Daddy's Little Girl," "To Have and to Hold."
I need to look up that song. Yeah.
It's a very beautiful song.
Okay.
So, anyways, I sing it to my boys, but I've changed it to, you know, Mummy's Little Boy or Mummy's Big Boy, and they like the fact that it's something that Grampy sang to me, and then I'm singing to them. So they really like that a lot. And then there's other things too that I do, like whenever they do something that I know my husband used to do as a child, I'll tell them, oh, you know, your daddy used to do that. So.
To your kids, to your boys, you tell them that your daddy used to do that. So you share modern day daddy stories.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's take a little break. Huh?
Okay.
Let's take a little break, and then we'll come back and talk to you about fathers of yore and fathers of today, and how hubbies and fathers get, I mean, where is a line that divides them, if hubbies and fathers. Okay, so folks, let's take a break. We are talking to Debbie Clements and Teresa Bilbao. We are talking about fathers and fatherhood, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Good evening. Welcome back to Expert Insights. We are talking to Debbie Clements and Teresa Bilbao of madsmanila.com. You'll tell us about that, right?
Yeah.
Mads Manila. And we are talking about fathers and fatherhood. So back to fathers. So you told me a story each about your fathers, right? Now tell us about fathers of today and fathers of a long time ago. How do we compare them? What are the differences, if any, or what are the similarities, if any?
Well, my husband's very traditional, so I would say he's very similar to...
He's Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's very similar to, you know, the traditional family man. He's very fun with the children. Like, he'll get down and play with them and wrestle and throw and all of that. But then he's also very strict on what they're allowed to watch, what they're allowed to read, what they can do. He's a very active.
Control.
He's a very active dad.
So on the dining table, does he sit at the head of the table, or he sits anywhere, anytime?
Well, we don't really sit at the dining table, so it's kind of...
For dinner or lunch, you don't?
Never.
Well, we do, but it's more, we've got this old antique table that's got a little sewing machine underneath.
This is Manila?
Yeah. And
you have sewing machine for a dining table?
No, it's a sewing machine that was converted, and it has a wooden top, so it's like their little kitchen nook.
Oh, because you're a little family.
It's like their birth system.
Husband,
and then we have little benches, so he sits on the bench with one of the children. And as it generally works out, normally whenever we go out for dinner, Andrew will always sit beside me, and William will always sit beside Dave.
Those are the two boys, Andrew and William.
Yeah.
Did you get them from Prince Charles or something? No? What's your hubby's name?
David.
David, okay.
Yeah.
All right, you.
Well, my husband's Filipino, and he's
That's
very...
why Bilbao.
Well, yes. I guess originally the ancestors came from Spain, and I think his line of the family is through Davao. So depending on how frisky the boys were in their youth, there may be others, I don't know. But my husband's Filipino, and he's very Filipino in the sense that he grew up in a world of yayas and helpers, and it wasn't until we met that he realized, oh, okay,
there's
so
another world
there's
out
a
there.
whole other world, and dishes don't get washed by themselves, and you don't just open the closet and have clean clothes. There there was a process to it, and it was a big thing for him. So when it came to having children, again, being very Filipino, his thought was, well,
they'll grow up
you're having a baby, aren't we going to get a yaya? Like, how many should we get? Oh, we're having another baby, let's get one more, and and that's not how I grew up, and that's not how we lived, and I guess I don't know if it's a Filipino thing or if it's just a him thing, but when it comes to raising the children, he differs a lot to me, thinking that, you know, you're the mother of the house and the light of the home and all these, I don't know, wonderful things, and it's very flattering and
the
everything.
Gender thing.
It's a gender thing, and he's, you know, and then again he always relates it back to, you know, in Philippine culture, the mother is always the hero of the home and the lifeblood of the family and whatnot, which is wonderful, and I do take a very active role, but there's a part of me that wishes that he'd jump in there and also assert himself a little bit more. It's a culture adjustment, and you know, you resolve it, I guess, in your own
David
way.
doesn't need yes, does he?
No, actually, he loves it the most when it's just us going
Just a
away,
little cute family.
and yeah, he's very much a homebody. He's happy to just stay home every single weekend, and you know, he's just very into his family.
Let me ask you this: what does, from your perspective, what does your daddy or what does your hubby expect to become to your children? What does he aspire for them?
For him, for Dave, it's definitely he wants to be a role model, and he wants to set an example for the children about how a man should behave. And my husband's got very solid views on what that role is as a father and as a husband, and all of that. So.
What does he do about it every single day besides sitting on a small table that's made up
he
of
talks about how to treat
machine?
a woman. He talks about how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
Both my boys are very. They've had girlfriends. And
Your boys
like
are 6 and 8?
6 and 4.
6 and 4.
They've had
not even
girlfriends?
4.
They've been out on a date?
With my daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is a family thing.
The youngest one is.
Yeah.
So
No, but they're both very. Both my boys love girls. They do.
well,
you know,
that's a good thing. That's really a good thing.
Yeah, my youngest is very much, oh, that's a very pretty dress you're wearing.
Oh, my God.
And I get flowers
How
every
old are your
day.
daughters then?
My daughter is 3, and she's in love, and she will tell everyone. You know,
With her son?
Oh, absolutely. She'll tell everyone.
Andrew or William?
William. She'll tell everyone.
Does he know how to open the car door?
He doesn't figure that out yet.
But
he has told her that she looks
She looks very pretty, and
He's
they
told her
sneak off
yeah.
together.
And he knows the minute she walks in the house to give her a kiss.
To give her a
Sneak
kiss.
off together?
They did.
Oh, yeah.
Did
We
they
had-
catch
they
the
had-
latest movie?
No, we had a birthday party recently, and it took me a while to realize, okay, neither one of them is here, and they were tucked under a little cave, and they were talking about the stars and the lights.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
And
Isn't
she'll
that
tell
beautiful?
everyone. She'll say, "Oh, I like you a lot, but William's my boyfriend."
Oh,
So
okay.
he's taught them how to treat a woman. So I get flowers. I get told I'm pretty. You know, he's passed that on. He also, you know, the role of a man in the house, and
Right.
you know.
Right. So does he get very traditional with your daughter? What's her name?
Rocio.
Andrew?
William.
William, I'm sorry, not Andrew.
I think most of the time I'm just fascinated at the dynamics of it, because they'll you know, if they come over, if we go over, and then they look at each other and they're very coy and then hi, and then they'll say, "Can I give her a kiss?"
Does he?
He does.
He
And
seeks
then
permission, right?
he seeks permission.
Well, now he doesn't.
Now he
anymore.
doesn't anymore. But
Oh.
then, but what my daughter seeks permission for, she'll look at me and she'll say, "Can I kiss him on the whips?" Oh, okay.
Oh, God.
And so so of course my instant reaction is your father teaching you these? Like, where are you getting this?
So
You know?
this is your hubby teaching her that?
I have no idea. I have to censor a lot of things my husband says. I have to filter it. But he really enjoys his children, and I see that in him.
So in his mind, what kind of future does he want to create for them?
I think, like most parents, he wants the best of what he has as a child, or what he had as a child, and he wants it to be as far away from the things that he, you know, didn't like, or that he, you know, still has whatever hidden resentment about his childhood. He wants to be as far away from that as possible.
Which is normal, yeah?
Which is normal, and I guess to echo also, he's very particular about how his children relate to each other and how they relate to me, and you know, he always, of course, wants to be the fun one, and he wants to be the one that, you know, don't tell mom, you know, let's do this, and drives me bananas. But you know, I guess that's his way,
and that's the daddy role.
That's the daddy role, and that's how he wants to manifest it. I think because he did have a very, you know, different childhood from what his children are having now, and he doesn't want to revert to that type of father that didn't have any contact with his children and was very critical of his children.
So thus he's present and available to them.
He is present and he's available to them. He doesn't always get that being present and available means that they need help sometimes.
Because of his job?
Because of his job, and I guess just, you know, because of also, again, the way that he was raised. Because for me, I don't know if it's the way I was raised or as a mother, you know, you're with your children, you see them struggling, you reach in and help, you know, whereas my husband will wait until the kid falls down and like, oh, did you need help? So, you know, but he's there, and he wants to be there, and you know, you encourage him to be there in different ways, not just being in the room, but actually, you know, participating and integrating and reading to them. And
I think that's also more a fact of him being a man.
Yeah.
We always talk about this, about how...
What's your husband's name?
Tom.
Tom.
Yeah. We always talk about how mums of boys have a harder time because the husband will let the boys do things that we're like, oh, they're going to hurt themselves.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
You know, and the dads always want their children to be more, or their boys to be more adventurous. And my husband says all the time, you know, how is he going to learn the limits of what he can and can't do and what's safe and what isn't, unless he does fall and hit his head sometime.
Yeah.
Unless he does, which is totally like, I don't ever want my kid to hit his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, but...
I do notice a distinct difference, though, between how he relates to our son and how he relates to our daughter.
You have one daughter and one son.
I have one daughter and one son. And I see it.
How old is the son?
He's 5. He's 5. And, you know, when it comes to discipline or whatever, you know, the tone of my husband's voice and the anger,
different.
and it's very different. And, you know, my daughter will, for example, jumping on the bed. Stop it, you know, get up. And then he looks at my daughter and says, sweetie, you might fall and hurt yourself, sit down. And I hear it and I see it, and I don't know.
Do you think that's a good thing for a father to change his approach to a child of a different sex? Do you think it should be equal?
I think he does it instinctively because, you know, it's, you know, part of, you know, growing up as a boy, you know, don't hurt women. Like what Debbie was saying,
I'm probably guilty of it.
They have a perspective on how to treat women, and she's just a little woman. She just comes in a smaller package, and he can't be, you know, as fierce, I guess, as he can.
Debbie, your dad.
I only have boys.
No,
so,
but your dad.
My dad, he only had girls. My dad was. You know, we didn't get the...
you wouldn't know the difference because you had no brother.
I had no brother, yeah. So I came from a house of girls, and now I'm living in a house of men. So I really don't know how to answer that, except, you know, my dad didn't talk to me in a BB kind of voice like that. No way. You know, he could yell. He could, you know, and he was also...
Yelling was okay back in the 70s or 80s.
Oh, yeah, we got yelled at all the time.
Oh, yelling's still okay now.
Yelling is still okay now.
As long as nobody else hears you. And the neighbor isn't videotaping you and then they send it in to the news people. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. But my dad was very much, with us all being girls, you know, he did... all of us were not really girly girls. None of us were, you know. The first time I had a manicure...
You what number? You're the eldest?
I'm the youngest.
Oh, the youngest.
The first time I had a manicure and pedicure was for my wedding. You know, we were not girly girls. So my dad made sure to put some tomboyish in us, and, you know, we weren't allowed to wear makeup. We weren't allowed to wear heels. So, you know, he was pretty strict with us.
Where did your daddy grow up?
India.
Okay. All right. That's why.
No, my dad grew up in India. So, yeah, that's, you know, and he's always said to my mom, and he's always said to all of us, you know, girls look prettier without any makeup. So my dad is very traditional, and that's probably why I married my husband, who is also very traditional.
How much work do your hubbies, daddies, your daddies probably didn't bring home a lot of work back in the 60s, 70s. People didn't bring home a lot of work.
In the 80s?
80s.
You mean?
80s, I'm
In
sorry.
the 80s?
I was born in the 70s.
I was born in the 70s, but I wasn't aware that my
Okay,
father had
I
a
stand
job
corrected,
until the
80s.
80s.
People didn't bring home work back in the 80s. Now they do. Now people work 24/7.
Well, my dad was a pediatric pathologist, so there's no bringing home work for that.
The work was everywhere.
The work was at the hospital, and then, you know, sometimes he would write papers and things like that. But, you know, when he's examining samples and things, you have to do that in a lab. So he never brought work home. But one thing, my dad, he was on call and things like that, as all doctors are. But for him, he made sure that, and I remember not liking this as a kid, but every swim meet, every performance, every parent-teacher, even if the teacher would say, you know, there's no problems, there's no need for you to come in for the parent-teacher.
He would turn up.
Him and my mom both. Every
Whoa.
swim practice, oh yeah, both of them. They,
That is sweet.
yeah, it was very sweet, and it's something that I'm doing with my kids. But boy, did I not like it when I was, you know, a teenager. And
Well,
it's like
you
you
know,
don't have to come all the time.
I was with a group of people last night, and they did a survey, and the survey said that if you ask kids of ages 6 to 9, that what is the thing that you want out of your folks? What is that one thing that you want out of folks? And the answer,
Time.
time, period,
Yes,
time, nothing else. So if your dad was spending time out with you when you were 6 and 9 and you didn't like
Absolutely.
it, so like you were kind of different?
No, it's more, I think one thing my parents were, as opposed to other parents there, is they would come to everything. So I was the only one that had, you know, both their parents there. So after a while, it kind of stood out like a sore thumb. So then I was kind of like, oh, you know.
Did he speak in an Indian accent like, how is my daughter
My dad
doing?
speaks in an English accent.
Oh,
No,
he
your
does.
dad has an Indian undertone.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
How is my daughter doing?
Not as
No, no,
strong,
no,
but
no, no, no,
it's there. You can pick it up.
See, I think he
up.
sounds more
Yeah.
British than my mom.
No, your mom sounds British.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, he makes
Yeah.
an effort, maybe.
Yeah.
So how are daddies today? How much work do they bring home in this 24/7 world? Because I've seen men. My work today is all the time. I mean, everybody, not just me, I think. So.
Well, I'm lucky in that my father and my husband both have the same philosophy, wherein at the end of the workday, it ends. And as much as possible, they both really resisted having to bring anything home, because home time was family time and just time for not thinking about work. They make the conscious effort to really detach themselves from that aspect of their life, which I think is great. And the occasions that my husband has had to bring home work or take an overseas call or whatever at home, it really bothers him, and it really upsets him, because it just disrupts the joy.
That
I
is
mean,
nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice, no?
Yeah.
So my husband works in a call center, so, you know, most of his work is at work. It's not something that he brings home a lot of work. But, you know, of course, he has his little BlackBerry, and then you always get client calls or things like that. But my husband really wants to just focus on the family when he's home. That's the most stress-relieving thing, is to just be surrounded by the boys. He just says that's great.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Sometimes daddies play mom. Yeah? Sometimes they pitch in for mothers. Yeah?
What do you mean?
Sometimes cook, clean, wash, change
not
nappies.
my husband, no.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
my husband.
some daddies do.
Not our
my
daddy.
Husband. My husband, both my boys were C-sections. So my husband's very proud of the fact that out of the two of us, he was the first to hold the kids, he was the first to change their bum, and he was the first to feed them, because I would just pump and then he would go down with the bottle. So, he was...
Assuming that some daddies do. I'm not saying all daddies.
My daddy does, or my husband does.
I know of dads that are like that, completely hands-on, 100%.
Doesn't matter if the child is a girl or a boy.
Oh
Doesn't
yeah,
really matter.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it on both, but in our home, no.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Okay. Now, the question I'm saying is their participation as a mother in the family. You know, they play the part of the mother. How should it be measured? Should it be measured from the perspective of him being a guy or him being a man who's trying to make an effort?
What about him just being a parent?
Yeah, I think it's more about being a parent. I don't think it's about being a
Doesn't have
mom
to be
or a
measured
dad.
by the same
Not at all.
yardstick as a
I
mother?
think it should fulfill, if for any reason I cannot be there to fulfill the role, he should just be able to transition right into it without any difficulty. And as Debbie said, it's not about being a mom or a dad. It's about being
It's just
a
about
parent.
being one of the two.
Well, the kids, my kids react differently to me than they do to my husband for certain things. So,
How's that? Yeah.
like when I take the kids to school, they
Yeah.
expect me to get out of the car with them, to take them to their classroom, and then I give them a kiss.
Yeah.
With my husband,
They just get
they'll
up and
just
run.
get out of the car,
Right.
and then because they know Daddy wants us to be big, strong, But with me, it's like, okay, I can be a little more cuddly with Mom, or like we're going away on a mommy trip.
Yeah. What's a
And-
mommy trip?
Mommies, no husband, no
No
children.
daddies
just,
around.
No
no
mommies,
daddies around.
mommy.
Okay.
just mommies.
Mhm.
My son had found out. He's very smart. He had found out because he saw us booking the hotel or something.
No,
Right.
the airline.
The airline, and then he wrote, well, why are you going to Thailand?
No, he said, why are you looking at Philippine Airlines?
Right.
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then I said something about a passport, and my son was like, why do you need passports? Where are you going?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so Andrews figured it out, and then big tears. Well, Mommy, I can't do without you for 2 days. I'm like, but you're going to be able to have a boy day. And he's like, a boy day again? I'm like, remember when it's just all the we invited all of our friends that are dads with their boys, and they just they had a boy day.
Thing.
They had their mail, but they had their Nerf guns. It was
Yeah.
it was just all men stuff. And I said, well, that means you can have another boy day and do all the things that I don't normally let you do.
You can have a party.
Yeah,
You can have
the
a
things
bachelor
that
party.
Daddy lets you do that I don't let you do. You can, and he's like, you mean like jump on the ottoman to the couch? Yes.
Absolutely.
You can do that when I'm not here. So.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break and come back, and we'll talk about your relationships with your hubbies after this, and about Mads. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Thanks. So let's take a break, and we'll come back and talk to Debbie Clements and Teresa Bilbao of Mads Manila, and we're talking about fathers and fatherhood. Stay watching. Welcome back to Expert in Science. I'm your host Raju, Mandhyan. We are talking to Debbie Clements and Teresa Bilbao, and we are talking about fathers and fatherhood. And we actually finished talking about fathers and fatherhood, no? So,
Okay.
unless you have something to add, some stories to tell about them being good daddies and your daddies being good to you. You done telling the story?
Obviously they were.
That's why you
yeah.
have turned up so wonderfully, no?
Well, exactly.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
So now, then these guys who are so obsessed about being daddies or so traditional about being daddies, how are they as hubbies? How do they fulfill the duty of looking after you or babying you and also babying your babies, darlings?
My husband's very traditional, very, the way to his, we were talking about this earlier.
What is traditional?
I would say more than
How do you
traditional.
define?
I would define David as more conservative. And it's interesting because we were talking about this yesterday in preparing for this, and our husbands.
He's going to watch this show.
Maybe.
He's going to say, I'm going to change.
What can I do? No, but
I love that.
our
I love
husbands
them.
are actually very similar,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is interesting, which is probably also why we get along. In that, as I was saying, is my husband was attracted to me for various reasons, things that he wanted, things that he felt he lacked, and when he saw what I could do and who I was, that's what he wanted to be with. And one thing we concluded when we started dating, because he describes it as a whirlwind, and he knew right away the minute he met me, I was the woman of his life. But I was wary, and I said, I don't want to get caught up in the whole thing that I'm almost 30 and I'm not married. I want to be really sure about this. And he and he was the one who said, we shouldn't be getting married because of this fantastic passion or whatever. It should be because I want to devote the rest of my life to making you happy.
Isn't that so romantic?
And
That's so
caring
cute.
for you,
Oh, God.
and
I told him, I hope you're listening to this. You got this on tape. Yeah.
I'm telling everyone.
Wow, this is so cute. Yeah.
But yeah, and in the same way that Dave has very traditional values, I think Tom has the same values in how much respect he has for me as his wife and as the mother of his children.
Bravo.
Yeah, I mean, that it's a lot for him, and it counts for so much for him to be able to say, you know, this is the woman who cares for me, she cares for my home, and she's raising my children, and for him, nothing could be more important than that.
Wow, aren't you so lucky?
I am lucky. I am blessed.
Tom's a good guy.
Tom is a good guy.
Yeah. Well, Tom and I are really good friends too. So yeah. No, I couldn't be happier. You know, Dave was the one that, you know, when we first started dating, he remembered everything I said, and you know, he really listened, and you know, that's something that a lot of men didn't do.
Yeah.
And
this was in Canada.
This is in Canada, yeah. And he's, you know,
And
Dave
he's
and I
what,
are
Canadian, American, Canadian?
full-on Canadian.
Oh, Mountie man.
Okay. And you know, he's just a very loving, very quiet man until you really get to know him.
Cool, right.
Yeah.
But he's also very family-oriented.
Both our husbands are very quiet until they get together.
Yeah.
All right.
And until the whiskey's open.
And then they open a bottle of whiskey and...
Let me take this. Let me twist this question around. So, then I see you. They love you very much, right? What is it that you do, each one of you, to return that love? Currently, I mean, when you met them, it was passion and love at first sight. But how do you sustain it? What are the little things that you do every single day when you wake up till the time you go to bed?
We were talking about
we
this
were talking
yesterday
about this.
too.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
good.
It's similar. So for me, the day my husband knew he wanted to marry me, which was I think maybe our third or fourth date or something, was because I had packed him a lunch to take to work, and no one else had ever packed him a lunch. So
Here, in the Philippines.
no,
in
this is
Canada.
when we were dating.
Right.
So
And where did you learn to pack a lunch?
well,
From daddy? From mom?
No, I just
It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I wanted to take care of him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
the nurturing
The
instinct.
nurturing instinct.
Okay.
And so for him, it's, you know, Dave just has to go to work, and then he comes home, and everything else is taken care of. He doesn't have to worry about the taxes. He doesn't have to worry about the finances or anything. I take all of that off his plate. So all he has to do when he comes home is just enjoy.
Yeah.
And the way I spoil him is
Spoil
through
is
his tummy.
that the right word? Spoil?
Yeah.
He spoils me, I spoil him.
Okay,
you know,
okay.
So the way I spoil him is really through his tummy.
Okay,
Food.
great food.
And things that I know he can't stand, like my husband cannot stand shopping. So for spoiling him, I will say, I've picked up my Christmas present.
She's
This is what you're giving me for Christmas.
do you like
This is what you do,
do you
this is
like
what
what
you
you
do.
gave me for my birthday?
Yeah, and so he knows that he doesn't have to go out, because he hates it. So
What if he buys you something and it doesn't really, from a ranking of 1 to 10, you don't like it so much? What do you do? Do you say it's okay, or do you smile? Or do
I've
you
been wearing it for 6 years.
For me, my husband rarely goes shopping, so the times that he does, he wants it over and done with quickly. But he knows to stick to jewelry, and he's good at picking jewelry. So you know,
Okay, that's a
it's
safe
been
area,
it's been
right?
fine. He's,
Yeah.
you know, I
it's
don't
an
think he could
investment
ever.
at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think he could ever pick out clothes for me, or I don't think he would even know my bra size or anything like that. You know,
Okay.
you know, but for him, the way I spoil him is through getting the groceries and making the meals and all the stuff that I do that I would do back home.
How
I've
do you
made
take
it
the
so the life
pressure
is
out
the
of his
same.
life? If he's stressed at work, stressed that things not going his way in society, how do you back him up there? Do you do something to do that?
For me, it's I just listen. We talk a lot.
Yeah.
We
about
talk a lot.
things. I support whatever he decides.
Okay.
And once again, it's food.
Yeah, food.
So food works.
Food works a lot, but
So the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
absolutely.
For our boys, yeah.
They're basically just little boys.
Yeah.
And
Men are.
Men are. And
Okay.
and
I'll
aside
take
from
your word for that.
they are.
Just grown-up, gray-haired
Just
boys.
grown
sometimes.
up little boys, and aside from food also, my husband and I, we were talking about again last night, and we were discussing how, in younger years, you go out and you have all the fun and you do all the wild and crazy things, and he said he's at the point in his life now where the happiest time of his day is just to come home.
Ooh,
He
wow.
just
This is
wants
cool.
to be
I hope
home.
daddies and moms, you're listening to this, because this is an ideal family over here. This is perfect.
Well, nobody's perfect.
No, yeah.
But
Near to
But
perfect.
it that's all he wants. He just wants to come home, and in his own words, he'll tell you, he just wants to come home to a clean house, a neat house,
smile, a
you know,
hug.
happy children,
Good food.
you know, and good food.
Yeah.
Good food,
And that's what makes him happy. I mean, I can't cook a gourmet meal every night, but you know, even if I just tell him, hey, you know, I made your favorite kind of cookies, or I know you really like
Baked
this
your
dessert,
cake,
or
yeah.
you know, Happy Father's Day. Here's a lasagna, and that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Happy
Hey,
Father's Day here to lasagna.
Mums. Thank you very much. No? I'm done questioning to you about fathers and fatherhood. No?
Okay.
If I skip asking you anything that you might want to add, this is your time. About dads, pops. If you want to give us a few tips on how to look after daddies, this is your time too.
Well, no, it's more just make sure that the person you choose to have children with is someone that is going to be a good parent.
Oh, so make a good choice. This is
Make a
that's
good
an
choice.
advice for girls out there.
And for boys, because
Oh.
whoever's going to be the mother of your children is going to be
okay.
your mother of your children. That person's going to be in your life for
So you're saying
long
I could have run
time.
this show for Mother's Day, having two men sitting here, David and Tom, and I would get similar answers.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, I
Except
think,
for the
I
cooking.
think so.
Well, you know, yeah, basically,
Yeah,
it
I
would be
think so.
find someone who
I think
cooks for you.
Fundamentally, it boils down to making the right choice.
The first choice.
The right choice. I mean, you know, there's anybody. What is it that they say? Anybody can be a dad, but it takes a certain kind of person to be a father. And so you have to choose. Do you just want to have, you know, a donor in your life, or do you want to have a family and somebody who can, you know, step up and be a father?
So take a lot of time in choosing the right guy. That's the most important thing. The first choice. That's
Make
important.
the right
Okay.
choice.
Now we've got 3 minutes to go, and tell me about Mads Manila and what happens at Mads.
Okay.
I mean, why is it called Mads in the first place? No?
Stands for Mothers and Darlings.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of cute.
It's an expat group of international members, and we have children under the age of 6. And
So nobody with children over the age of 6 can be a member there.
No, they can, but we predominantly do programs for people with children 6 and under.
Toddlers and up.
Yeah.
Toddlers up to about the age 6. We're
Pregnancy and up.
Pregnancy and up. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
wow,
and
okay.
and we are in the process of setting up the older children's groups, because there was an interest expressed in sort of having. It provides a great network of people.
How many members are there?
Over
400?
400 around.
And where do you
400.
guys get together? How much does it cost?
Well, we've divided it up into different play groups. So we've got members in the north and members in the south, and then members in Makati. And it's
Play
grouped
groups?
by
You call
ages.
them play groups?
We
Play
call them
groups.
play groups, yes.
So there's age groups. So we've got pregnancy to infants, and then Group A, which is 0 to 1, and Group 2, or Group B, which is 2 to 3.5-year-olds, Group C, which is oh, I messed that up. Yeah.
So there's
Group C
it
plus.
caters to the
You're going to be the next president of this thing?
I don't think so.
Okay,
No.
okay.
We can only run for 2 years. and then-
Together.
Constitutionally, we can only hold the position for 2 years, and we've said this all along. We came into it together in agreement, and we've been co-producing the show for almost 2 years.
The show. It's a show.
No, we
do shows, yeah?
We do play groups
Yeah.
and
And
children's
things.
parties, and then we do our fashion show.
We have a fashion show and we other events throughout
There's
the
a
year.
magazine, there's a Yahoo group, a website.
Is there anything that's coming up? Anything you want to
We
announce?
just
We
had
recently
our
concluded
Yeah.
our Mother's Day event,
which was May 2.
May
yeah.
11th.
May 11th was our fashion.
Was our fashion show.
Okay.
So.
All right, so ladies, thank you very much for being on Expat Insights, and thank for sharing wonderful insights on looking after dads, and also loving hubbies at the same time. No? So if there's anything you want to say to your friends, to Mads Manila, this is your time. Then otherwise we leave. Boys, to your hubbies, to David and Tom.
Hi, my boys.
And to Andrew and William.
And to Andrew and
Well, yeah, my boys.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
You want to meet up with Debbie, Clements, and Teresa Bilbao? You look them up on www.madsmanila.com, and you can join them and learn a lot more about how to look after dads and hubbies. So we'll leave you with a song by Barbara Streisand. And happy Father's Day. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week. Thank you very much for being
Thank
on the
you.
show.
Thanks so much
Teresa
for having
and
us. Thank you.
Debbie. Salamat. Gracias.